If you accidentally unleashed a contagion of evil on your unsuspecting town, what would you do? Some movies play at horror. This one bites your face off. Demonic possession isn't just contained to Catholic basements and condemned monasteries anymore. Satan's gotten clever and started popping his spawn into the abandoned corners of the world where no one's likely to look. Like a village in South America, where even the health department has an ongoing open file on possession. This town in Argentina exists at the nexus of WTF, and I need bleach for my eyes. Surviving this evil requires common sense, humility, and following your own advice, which is apparently asking a lot of people. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do to defeat the rotten and when evil lurks. In Argentina, two brothers, Pedro and Jimmy, are startled out of their house in the middle of the night by gunfire. They're worried it's poachers, but Pedro says the shots weren't from a rifle. In the morning, they and their two dogs set out across their land, then beyond it to a neighboring farm and forest where they discover half of a very important man. The man brought strange devices with him, along with a folder full of messages they think are in Russian and a photocopy of another neighbor's license, a woman named Maria Elena. When they get to her house, she's disappointed to learn that the man she hired has died. Hired for what? Well, to kill her possessed son, of course. That guy from Seven's probably pitching half a tent in his pants right now.
Hey, butthead, I'm getting a stiffy.
She says that Uriel has been possessed for a long time, and the men she hired were going to end his life following the proper procedures. This would have purged the evil in him, which is using his body as a vessel to birth itself into the human world, Constantine style. She's been taking care of him ever since they made the appointment with the exorcist hitman a year ago. Turns out this part of Argentina has a demon problem. The family told the mayor and police chief about the rotten 12 months ago. They hid Uriel's condition from the local populace because if word got out, it would basically sour their area, and no one would want to buy from them or live near their farms. Even the health department refuses to help with rotten, telling them to either get another contract killer exorcist or deal with it themselves. Are you looking for a way to take your fandom for your favorite comics and movies to the next level? FanHome has you covered. FanHome is a subscription service that is paired with some of your favorite entertainment, gaming, and pop culture brands to deliver build-up models and unique collections of your favorite characters and stories to your door. We're talking officially licensed properties such as Star Wars, Marvel, and Street Fighter. Build a Star Trek Enterprise ship, or a 1/8 scale replica of the legendary Eleanor Mustang from Gone in 60 Seconds. This collector's item is 23 inches long when fully assembled. It's made from die-cast metal and comes with working doors, illuminating taillights, and front wheels that turn when you turn the steering wheel. It also comes with unprecedented behind-the-scenes information about the model and rare images, all bound in a fully illustrated magazine. You'll also receive a few amazing gifts with your Eleanor Mustang purchase, including a poster, binder, mug, and decorative LYN 274 license plate. To score this choice model now, simply use my link in the description and my promo code NERDELEANOR, or head to fanhome.com to check out one of their awesome collectibles. Your collection just isn't complete without one of these bad boys. Thanks to FanHome for sponsoring this video. Pedro and Jimmy go to their wealthy neighbor Ruiz for help, but he thinks it's a conspiracy by the state. If they leave a rotten one here long enough, the price of his land will tank and they can buy him out. The situation's so dire, Ruiz leaves his pregnant wife, Jimena, and goes to the house with a shotgun to kill Uriel himself. Maria Elena and her other son try to talk him down. Not out of murdering Uriel, but of spreading the evil inside him. They warn that Uriel will kill him, then them, then basically turn the region into an all-you-can-eat body and soul buffet. Uriel wants to die, goading that if Ruiz doesn't kill him, he'll move into Jimena's unborn child next. The next morning, Jimena, Pedro, and Jimmy arrive to find Ruiz freaking out in his car. He couldn't go through with it. Instead, they decide to move Uriel far away and abandon him to be someone else's problem. They haul the pustule of a man into Ruiz's truck and drive nearly 250 miles away. Somewhere along that road, Uriel's body disappears, leaving behind nothing but yellow slime and stray bullets bullets. That's fine by Ruiz, who declares their kidnapping a huge success. Until the next day, when Himina screams that one of their goats is possessed. It doesn't run from gunfire, which is weird, but every goat since the witch has been evil to me. Himina runs for an axe, warning Ruiz that he can't use a gun or the evil will condemn their family. The moment the goat dies, and without a second's hesitation, Himina buries the axe in Ruiz's head, then into her own head repeatedly. Goat has zero chill, and Ruiz is an a-hole. Not for all the obvious reasons, but because he just doomed everyone in this weird little town. The shadows shift in the brother's house, and there's a knock at the door. It's Maria Elena's other son. He says his mom has vanished. Ruiz and Himina are dead, and he's scared. He begs them to let him stay and to shut off the electric lights, because its shadows call in the evil. The brothers decide to leave for good, taking nothing that has touched this place with them, not even their clothes. Unfortunately, since most countries frown on driving commando, they're fully clothed when they leave. They head to town to get Pedro's kids and flee. Pedro terrifies his ex-wife Sabrina and her husband Leo when he charges into their house, demands they pack without explanation, and strips naked while asking for new clothing. The family dog sniffs his old clothes while the adults argue. Pedro tells Sabrina about the rotten one, warning that they all need to leave before the town devolves into chaos. They're so busy arguing that no one notices the dog as it suddenly rips their daughter to pieces. The dog knows some world-class magic, disappearing faster than the adults can get outside. As the family implodes, Pedro retrieves his own son, Jair, who seems to be non-verbal. When Pedro gets downstairs, he warns Leo not to shoot the dog, because the gun will curse their family. Leo doesn't listen. Pedro runs after Leo, but he's too late. He arrives back at the house to discover the daughter Vicky has returned completely unharmed. It's a miracle to everyone except Pedro, who grabs his boys and steals the car while Vicky fills her mom in on her impending gruesome death. Pedro speeds off, picking up Jimmy and their mom before leaving town. They tell her about the rotten. Even though she's a non-believer, she knows an entire song and 7 rules about the possessed people, because Argentina is apparently located at the crossroads to the underworld. 1. Don't use electric lights. 2. Don't get close to animals. 3. Don't take anything that was close to the person. 4. Don't hurt them. 5. Never call the evil by its name. And 6. Don't use guns on them. Of course, Pedro stops her before she can say the 7th rule. They rest at a gas station, where mom's phone suddenly rings. It's Sabrina. Pedro takes the call far away from the family, listening as his dead ex tears into him about his failures as a man and as a father. He destroys the phone and finally fills Jimmy in on what happened at Sabrina's house. Jimmy takes them to a woman named Murda, who says he's experienced something like this. Dude, if you knew she existed, why didn't you call her the moment you found out about Uriel? It's a strange situation all around. Pedro won't talk to Murda, and Jimmy didn't experience what Pedro did, so the night ends with zero discussion about the contagious demon wending its way toward them at this very second. Step 1 to surviving a demonic apocalypse. If you're lucky enough to find an actual expert with first-hand experience, listen to the expert. Don't just listen. Overwhelm them with questions. Take notes. Strategize a plan of attack. Gear up like this is the next Evil Dead installment.
Groovy.
Eventually, Murda tells them that God is dead and churches are corrupt now, which has led to these possessions being possible. But I would argue that suggests that there was something that once worked in the churches that could work again. Do we need a true believer? A crucifix blessed by the Pope? The blood of a nun who's been cloistered her entire life? She has an entire toolkit we'll see in a bit. I'd be asking her how each piece works and what it does, so in the event she dies, we can pick up where she left off. The big questions they need to ask are the ones they never do. If we can't hurt the rotten, can we hurt those influenced by it? Can we protect ourselves from something trying to stop us from reaching the rotten? The answer to this changes our strategy considerably. Pedro's mom wakes in the middle of the night to Sabrina grabbing Pedro's younger son, Santino. She's too zonked to notice that Sabrina's looking a little rough. Mom finally figures out that something is wrong, and Pedro's called in to deal with it, as Sabrina jumps out the window with Santino and vanishes. Pedro checks on Jair, who seems fine, despite the blood shower that's coated the car since Sabrina arrived. Pedro's not really paying close attention though, as he darts off into the night searching for Santino. Murda tells Jimmy that Jair is now possessed, which he dismisses as her ignorance about autism, until she opens the door and shows him Jair's hands.
Un demonio pasó por su cabeza y quedó atrapado.
A little too late. Murda tells the men what she knows. She starts with the 7th rule when dealing with possession. 7. Don't be afraid of dying. Turns out she's also a demon slayer and has the equipment to prove it. She tells them the demon feeds on their fears, which is why Sabrina came for the kid. To stop all of this, they'll have to find the rotten and abort the evil inside it. She says that everything happening is part of the demon's birthing process. Just a sneak peek at the horror that'll be unleashed when Satan's spawn actually pops out. They're forced to admit they moved the rotten, and it's somewhere along the 250-mile stretch where they misplaced his body. Jimmy goes to search for Sabrina and Santino, while Murda and Pedro search for the rotten. As they drive the road, she tells Pedro that she encountered her first rotten when her and her husband started a fraudulent church to make money. Afterward, they were taught how to purge rottens, and did that for 12 years before her husband eventually became one, and she fled, living without electricity or contact with the outside world to prevent the evil from finding her. This is the point where a smarter, more humble character would hang on to her every word. If she's for real, rottens can be killed. They have been killed in the past, and fear is a tool they will use against us as we move forward. We need to trust the process, but we need to pry for more information, like if we can't hurt the rottens, can we contain them? Is there anyone else you knew in your former life who did this, who we could call for backup? Is there something I can do or say to help me realize I'm being manipulated? Pedro is not a smart man. He's little more than a blunt instrument running on Gothic farm software. He's letting his emotions weaken him, and he's letting his fear overwhelm him. He's too focused on saving his son to listen to reason, and tragically, he's going to doom the world because of it. Jimmy spots his first infection in town, a woman who's cracked her son's head open like an egg and begun eating his brains. He realizes it's Sabrina and Santino. Yeah, time to reverse so fast you travel back to 1955. Jimmy goes with the opposite, hitting Sabrina from behind and splattering her like tomato soup across a tree. I do admire the direct action, but now you gotta walk through a satanic Chernobyl on foot. Also, it didn't kill her, so keep your vehicle. Back at Murda's house, the demon-possessing Jair finally figures out how to work his Jair mech suit as he walks in and asks his grandmother for something warm to eat. Pedro and Murda spot the blanket they rolled the rotten in and arrive to a rural school where entire classrooms of possessed kids wait in the dark. Murda says kids often protect the rotten and warns they'll say and do anything to keep them from finding him. She says they cannot use electricity from this point forward. But how about some candles? You bring a bunch of those? Why not? How about a flamethrower? Didn't hear a rule about prohibiting them. Preparation is the key here in two ways. First, the physical prep, gathering tools, nets, non-lethal aids, earplugs if you need to drown out potential manipulation.
You're not my mother! Don't listen.
Why, Jimmy?
Just have somebody watching your back at all times. The second is psychological. All of the rules except for one are manageable. We can avoid the lights, animals, and guns with ease. Getting rid of anything from the Rotten's house is doable, as is never using his name. Fear is even manageable if we focus our mind on a single unrelated thought, almost meditating on it as we go about our work. Turn into Nicolas Cage in Willy's Wonderland. Pretend you're demon slaying so someone will fix your car. Anything that isn't related this situation should work. All we have to do is actively tune out any attempt by a stranger to tell us something about somebody we know. Just remember, they literally could not know the things that they're claiming, and you've neutered their strongest defense short of a machete. The one rule that isn't so easy is number 4. Don't hurt the rotten. This means we need to reduce intrusive thoughts and stimuli to an absolute minimum when in the rotten's presence. Shut and lock doors. Wear earplugs. Stuff up its mouth full of rags, preventing it from speaking. Answering that question I posed earlier becomes important here again. Can we hurt those around the rotten? If we can, then once we know where the rotten is, clearing the way becomes an easy and simple way to minimize the risks between us and our big showdown. Unfortunately, their lack of prep isn't the worst of their problems. The worst is Pedro, who refuses to listen to the expert, warning him off making terrible mistakes. When the kids won't talk, he threatens to basically waterboard one, even though Murda says they'll lie. When one does lie to them about Uriel's location, Pedro leaps into the truck raring to go, even though Murda warns him it's a trap. And when another kid tells them a different lie, he kicks her to the ground and begins wailing on her. Bro, no wonder you lost visitation rights with your kids. They notice all the kids have strange chalky markings on their clothing and shoes. In the school, they find the same chalk all over the theater stage. Pedro opens it, revealing a dragon's horde of dead adults. As the possessed kids watch, distracting and calling out, Murda sets up her tools, and Pedro searches the corpse pile for the rotten. Murda demands he drag the body out so she can reach the nape of its neck, but for whatever reason, he doesn't tell her the dude weighs half a ton. The big boy ain't budging with one man's strength. And once again, Pedro ignores the expert. A kid screams that there's an axe he can use to kill the guy in the nearby room. Murda again says it's a trap. The rotten tells him that it's all his fault, and only by killing him will his son be saved. Murda reminds him he's being manipulated, and yet Pedro goes anyway. The axe is missing. The door is locked. In the 10 seconds he's gone, the kids butcher Murda. Now it really is your fault, Pedro, you man-child. But also, Murda, what the heck? You can't defeat kids? A hard kick to the chest off the stage. Use that dagger on them. Is that even breaking the rules? We don't know because nobody asked. And of course, because Pedro's an incredible, stupendous moron of gargantuan proportions, he picks up a piece of Murda's destroyed equipment, one that isn't the dagger she showed him could kill the rotten safely, and bashes the rotten's head in. The kids return with a smile on their faces as the dead body finally gives birth to evil itself, who f***s off into the sunset. In the end, Pedro returns to Murda's house to discover that the evil's mark won't wash off, and Jair made a midnight snack of their mother. I legitimately think we could have ended this menace earlier with cooler heads. This happened because Ruiz had to use a gun on the goat, and Pedro and Jimmy couldn't drive away naked. But the real failure happened even earlier with Jimmy. If Jimmy had mentioned Murda after finding Uriel, she could have finished him before Ruiz even got involved, saving literally everyone. But even if he hadn't known about Murda, seeking out an expert is the obvious first step. If the guy came from Russia to kill Uriel, then ask Marina Elena for the contact info and call them again. Get another expert. Ask to use the rich guy's computer or your mom's smartphone to look for others. Once you have an expert, listen to them. Follow the rules. Quit freaking out like a bunch of headless tools. For those reasons, I think When Evil Lurks was beaten. Moral of the story, listen to the experts.